Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Spanglish.
Welcome to episode 2 and the fear of drowning. Most of us, at certain level of our life, encounter a fear, if not many of them. And all these fears that we think are something they come out of nowhere, they have an origin. My the specific one that I want to talk to you about today is the fear of drowning, and it was related with water. Always, when I was in the water, I grew up in the Caribbean, and I loved to go to the beach. I love the water, but for some reason, after I was getting older, I was getting 8, 9, 10, and so on. I realized that yes, I wanted to be in the water, but I couldn't cope to be away from the shore. I need to be in shallow waters. So back in 2014, if I'm not mistaken, my wife, my daughter, and I took a vacation to Mexico, Puerto Vallarta. Beautiful, beautiful place. And one of the things that I wanted to do is explore and on a small motorboat, and I wanted to go explore out the resort that we were staying at. So this tour to what we call in Spanish pilotes. These are rock formations that stick out of the water, and they look like a very tiny small islands, but they're not islands by no means. And it's one formation of three rocks close to what we were staying at, and supposed to be nice. And you go out there, and the snorkel. And if you feel brave enough, you can duck dive and explore. We took the tour. We booked the tour. We decided to go. I was excited. Life jackets to everybody. My daughter was back then probably 6 years old. And I was excited. I was really excited. While I was going out to the water, that was not the problem. The problem was when I got into the water. And the thing that I realized with the years is that if I couldn't see the bottom, my fears start showing and manifesting real fast. So I think that was the day that I realized, and I understand now how panic attacks can feel. So what happened was we arrived to this rock formation, and it was time, to get in the water. So I decided to go first, and then my daughter, and then my wife. So the captain of the boat, he say, "Well, I'm gonna toss some goldfish crackers, okay, and I'm gonna attract the fish." So I say, "Okay, I mean, this sounds like a plan." So here we go. He tossed the goldfish, the crackers in the water, and by surprise, my surprise, what happened was that it came. I'm not. I think I can give you a rough amount of fish of count, but I felt like there were 50. Probably there were less, but it felt like 50 of those different kind of fish came rushing to eat. So I guess they're used to, they're used to these tours, and they know that if you toss fish, they're coming. So uh, this fish start surrounding me and start hitting my legs. They were not doing anything uh, that will harm my body, but it felt like at the moment that I felt the fish touching my leg, a trigger happened. Something happened, right? And I lost control, motor control, and I'm glad that I was wearing a life jacket. I was surrendered by a bigger energy. I start feeling the depth of the water, of the area, even though I didn't know how deep it was. I was told 40 feet, but I couldn't see it. It was kind of murky, the water. Um, I felt the rocks. I felt the sky. I felt the light from the sun. I felt the boat. Everything came rushing. It was a massive amount of perceptions into one. So that's why I think it's a shock when you get a panic attack, because you are perceiving or you are receiving all these emotions, all this energy, all this information at once. So you're not prepared. Your brain goes into survival mode, fight or flight mode, and nothing. You don't know what to do. So what happened was that I somehow I managed to breathe. Right, I remember if I breathe, I could come down a little bit. And my daughter was so small at that time that that overcame my panic in that moment, and I realized that I needed to calm down, in order for me to be a support for my daughter. That, by the way, she was having a blast. And my wife as well. She didn't realize, my wife, that I was having a panic attack, because she was swimming away from us, having fun. And I'm like, oh. So at that moment, I told the captain of the boat, just please get me out of the water. And that started the quest for me. Okay, this is getting out of control. So we came back home, come back to San Diego, sat down, and I talked, to my wife about this. This is something that is getting out of control, and I want to be able to cure it. Or I want to be able to encounter and see what's going on, because I love the water. I really do. And all of a sudden, when we were talking and we were exploring and we were seeing what was happening, I remember I started getting all these flashbacks, which by now I understand those are neural nets. They're memories created and that I have when I was younger, created some sort of connection to that fear emotion. And every time that I was in the water, and it doesn't matter how I was getting, without me being able to attack these fears, I was going to reconnect to those neural nets, right? So I was like, wow, okay, now I remember when I was in my honeymoon, in my early 20s, and I remember that we did a tour, but by the way, I would never do that again in my life, because now I want all animals to be free, and I'm very supportive about, in my case, aquatic life, 100% to be free. So no captivity whatsoever, but that's just a side note. And so back then, in my ignorance, I went into a tour with dolphins, and when the trainer called the dolphin, and I saw the dolphin going in the water. Well, it was in the water. But what I mean is that under, it wasn't just picking, doing this, looking over the water. When she blew the whistle and the dolphin was supposed to come to my side, I got a panic attack back then, and I didn't realize it was really quick. So everything was associated not only with shark, because most people, when they go in the water and it's deep, they're like, sharks. So my fear wasn't only about sharks, I realized. Then I say, okay, what else? What else has happened in my life that has created this fear? So when I was 4 years old, more or less, back in Venezuela, those are one of the vivid memories that I had. And I say I have now, but I'm conscious that I really went through that trauma. I was pushed into a pool. So we were having fun. My mom, my dad was there, my sisters, and I was 4 years old. And those moments where you are aware of where your kids are, but by the second that you turn, obviously that's the second that you lose the kid. So that was me. Apparently, I walk away from my mom, and it was in a split second. She turned around. She couldn't see me. So I believe, obviously, I don't recall exactly what happened, but I talked to my family, and there were kids running around the pool, and kids are kids, so they saw me, they pushed me, Um, well, I was drowning, and that I recall because I have it in my neural net system. But now I realize that's not connected anymore with fear. That I I can remember clearly I was drowning. Those are moments that are at peace. It's gonna sound weird, but uh, eventually I will do a podcast about near death encounters, and so this one was my first. I was in complete calm. I remember blue water, light, and I was just sitting and sinking to the bottom. Then I felt how what it well back then it felt like two guys or a force rushed me out of the water when I hit the bottom. So going back to the Puerto Vallarta moment, and then I realized, well, what other moment I've been exposed to death in the water, and I've been having a panic attack. So back in Venezuela, when I met my wife, we went to Los Roques, which is the most beautiful place I can imagine. There's a beach, and it's special. A lot of magic there. We did a snorkel tour, and I also remember that every time I heard my breathing, because when you snorkel, you got your mask, your snorkel attached to your mouth, and if your snorkel just above the water, you can hear your breathing. That breathing was enough to get me into a panic mode. So Puerto Vallarta was my first panic attack. I had many. What happens when you're younger, sometimes you can kind of like ditch it out. You can put it aside. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you're young and you still have very strong chemical reactions from your brain, and it paralyzes your body and other reactions you can have. So if you're having a panic attack, it's a serious thing. So how do you recognize this? From my experience, right? If it doesn't feel normal, if your reactions to a situation does not feel normal, something is happening, and you need to pay attention. You need to collect yourself, and breathe, and try to seek what is happening in that moment that is triggering your reaction to get paralyzed, to not be able to move. So later down the road of this podcast, I'm going to touch what I came to discover with it throughout the years, and we're going to talk about neuroplasticity and quantum physics and so on. But in this special moment that we're living, and I wanted to record this podcast. I wanted to tell you this because I feel fear has been one of the main characters and the main feelings, the main energy that's being overcasting the entire world due to the virus. So this does not, or by all means, takes away what is happening in the body and how people have been sick and sadly passed away. So, but again, we need to think about how fear is affecting us, the way we approach, the way we go into our lives, because we're still alive, right? We're still breathing. So while you're doing it, you need to have control and see what is happening in the actual moment that allows you to say, well, I need to think in a positive way and to do a change. So going back to the trauma, you will ask maybe so what happened? Okay, you have a fear of death in the water, you're about to drown. So what happened? Do you get over? So I came back from the trip from Puerto Vallarta, And one of the things that I said to my wife was, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to fix this. And I'm going to do something about it. And I got myself into a class for scuba diving. So I wasn't looking into a professional help as yet because I felt I could take control of it. So, and I never did. So I never looked for professional help. I just did it myself. So I went into this class of scuba diving, and for what some people describe as the easiest class ever, the most enjoyable moment in their life to be able, to breathe underwater. For me, it was the most difficult thing ever. It's because you are in a constant battle with what can happen. So again, you are in the fight or flight mode, because you want to survive. You always think you're gonna drown. In my case, so every challenge that we have in our life become a stress, and it has some sort of fear of the unknown. Instead of us doing something about it and understanding that we must overcome what is just all thoughts, all memories, all you can even call traumas, and we are not giving space. So we're still stuck. So every time you're gonna have a situation like me, I was going in the water and I was getting trained to be breathing on the water with the tank. I know it was gonna be safe in a pool, because before you go into an open ocean, you should do obviously your training. And I went into training. It's just very shallow water in a pool, controlled environment. I couldn't. For me, it was really difficult. So I couldn't at that moment, but I say, you know what? I could try because that's me. I mean, that's the way I am. I gotta do it. So I forced myself to do it. I said, you know what? You can do it. Stop thinking about this. You're just gonna do and enjoy and breathe the water. And that's how I did it. So what I did, I broke away from the thinking that I couldn't breathe underwater or I will drown. I was just putting all my energy and intention into getting this new habit of I can enjoy this. And this is safe. So I passed that part. I actually enjoy it, because by the time that you discover that you can control and you're the creator of all your situations and your actions, you realize, well, I can create more. San Diego waters, for whoever is from San Diego, California coast, and had the opportunity to be scuba diving here, they're not the most. They're clear waters, but you don't have enough visibility to be able to say, well, I can see from here to 100 feet. The waters are cold. From somebody that came from the Caribbean, they get the visibility is sometimes 5 to 10 feet, sometimes 25. So, and that affects the way you dive. And by the time that I went to do my the second leg of the course, right, which is the open water dive, I realized, oh my God, what I got myself into it. Panic again, fear again. And at that time, it was fear of the unknown. Besides, obviously, to drown and all this stuff. So I told my wife, I don't think I'm going to the open water tomorrow. And she's like, well, you think about it, see what you can do, and try to find the answer. Nothing. Knowing me, I got it. I went into 7 a.m. I wasn't ready to go La Jolla Shores with my tank. And it was a group of 6, right? We have a group of 6 people going into this class and training. And I say, okay, well, this is great. I mean, we're going to have to overcome some fears. And the interesting part about every single thing that you do and you put your mind into it in a positive outcome is that's how you find the answer, how to overcome the fear. See, because people say, I can't do it. I'm afraid to do it. Okay, so how do you do something new and you don't become, oh my God, the person that's always based on fear? What do? You just go through. So you give yourself to the unknown. Obviously, in a safe way. I'm not saying to do it without, thinking about it, without taking a class. When you give yourself your energy into that path of the unknown, knowing that's going to be a positive outcome, good things will come. So obviously, the day that we went to do the shore diving, because that's how we do it here in San Diego, you have to break the waves. It was the most difficult day, of course, where it was a tank. We have a tank. You have your equipment, your fins. You have to put your fins. Once you don't feel the bottom anymore, you gotta shuffle before you get into the water, because stingrays can hit you in your feet. There's a lot of stuff going on. And I remember when we were in groups of 2 or 6 of us, plus the instructor in the front, and this girl that was doing the course with me, I can't remember her name. She was a nice girl. Before we went to the water, she's like, "Can you hold my hand, please?" And that moment, I realized that I wasn't alone. The fear was real, and we all have it. And it could be a fear of whatever, but in this case, I felt like by us grabbing our hands and saying, "We're going to do this together," it gave the energy of, okay, let's do it. So we went in. By the time you swim, I don't know, probably like 100 feet offshore, you're by yourself now. You're floating into your BCD, which is your vest that you have full of oxygen, inflates. You're gonna be fine. You have to do exercise. You have to do exercise. You have to. It's the only way to do it. You can do it in probably around 15 feet, 20 feet at depth, which is not that much for a scuba diver. But then the first time that I did my immersion, right? The first time that it was my time to go underwater for real, I felt I was gonna pass out. I felt my head was gonna split in two. My body was getting out of motion, so I didn't know what to do. I was starting to have a panic attack again. So one of the things that they teach you in this course, free diving, scuba diving, anything water related, is to breathe. Breathing is the basics. And by breathing, you get within yourself. It's like a meditation. It's a meditation. You get control of what's happening to you, and you give yourself the opportunity, and you present the energy to the bigger thing. In this case, water, nature. Well, I did it, and after that, I dove in many places. I have been to many places. I'm lucky. I'm blessed. Hawaii, Bahamas, Cancun, San Diego many times. And every single time that I go into the water, it's been a completely different experience. I don't have fear anymore. I embraced it. I love it. I fell in love with to be in the water, because I knew I liked the water. I just didn't know what was causing this wall around me, these 4 walls around me, and I couldn't move. So I realized that by having a fear and thinking that I would never be able to do it, I opened the door to something that I love and I cannot live without. And I cannot live without being close to the water, being in the water. Now I free dive, which is even more beautiful. Is you take one breath, and 1 full breath, and you go and dive completely tankless, without equipment, holding your breath to, the unknown. Obviously, you have a rope and you anchor. You have all this supervision, but it's hard. It's hard because free diving is muscle control, mental, heart, breathing. There are many things. It's nothing to do with the body, actually. It has to do a lot with the mind. So the outcome was fantastic in terms of being able to go through my fear, work it, overcome it. So if you feel in your life you have some situation that is not allowing you to be yourself or experience something, because based on traumatic experience or anything that can become fear, that's something that I need to work on. How do you work on it? So one, you can definitely find help, look for a professional. Or if you feel like you are in control and you can do things to create new behaviors, to break away from the old behaviors of not being able to swim or being afraid of the depth, or in my case, everything water related, you start navigating the avenues of how can I put all my energy into something new. So that way fear doesn't become your next door neighbor all the time. It's like here. Fear is also a trigger factor for warning. It's something, that protect us as human beings and help us to avoid dangerous situations. But in the case of that, you have a fear that always represents in your life and repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats, that is something else, then it's not only the fear. It has to be something that is triggering all the time, all the time, all the time. And that's something that is need to be worked on and needs to be rewired, basically. And that's how the circuitry in the brain works. We have many, many, many tied emotions to old memories, to old experiences that we keep. Imagine a computer, and if you are running sub programs, right? And those sub programs eat memory, and eventually the computer performance slows down because all those small apps or sub programs are eating up the just vast amount of memory you have, but is limited to a certain degree, storage. So all this is part of a new way of saying, how can I clean programs that I'm not using? How can I organize my hard drive? How can I connect and download things that I really need? That's one of the most important parts. And right now with this virus, what we need to do is connect to the new pathways, the new ways, download the new softwares in our brain that allows to understand that we can definitely we can go forward. And the new software will be, well, we need to be safe, we need to be respect social distancing, and we need to, but you can go out, you can definitely do it as long as you're safe. And I understand many people will say, well, but yeah, I am safe, but the other person is not. Or out of the 20, you'll see 2 that they're not respecting that. And I understand that. But if we need to start with ourselves. If we have this energy that we can help create and reshape our now to be able to create our future, well, we need to start by doing that, and then we can probably say to another person, hey, this is what's happening, you need to comply and help us out. So it's basically like going to a soccer match and having everybody clapping for the same team or for the team that you're going for, but it's just having this energy saying we can do it, we can have. It has been tested and has been effective when teams are saying that thanks to them in this, let's talk about soccer, when they have 11 players on the field, they always say that the number 12 is the fan. So that power, that energy of creation is powerful, is important, and we need to understand that for more and more that we think that we have control of everything, we do not. So it's important that now we have and take the time to realize that this is a shift of energy. It's a time where what happened, why this is happening, why this virus just now became what it is, why so many people die, why I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling that way. So it's a time to start asking questions and to work within ourselves to find the answers. So we cannot just wait until these resets come back and then, okay, I'm back to myself. I hope this podcast has helped you to to realize that, and many things that we do in our life will reflect what we need to work on. Basically, they repeat themselves until we say, okay, something's happening here. Sometimes we just learn to live with them because we think this is part of the normal. It couldn't be normal if I want to go in the water, if I like the water, if I enjoy the water, and I can be the water. It has to be something going on. And I invite you to do the same. Maybe you're not in the water, you're not a water person, but you are a mountain trek person. You like to sit down in the valley and connect with something, and then you're afraid of, I don't know, anything that can happen. So be positive. Remember that the most important part is that you are the creator. You are the observer. You are the person that has the power to change it. Hope to see you in the next episode. And please don't forget to subscribe, follow me, be blessed.